to date?
Yeah, I was talking to a good friend of ours, and we were discussing the idea that when you're a hypnotist, hypnotherapist, or anything really, you could be a personal coach, you could be a fitness coach, any kind of people helper who is helping people in a live session, whether it be online using Zoom or whether it be in person in a normal office, like it used to be prior to the world changing.
Don't say the C word.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to get deplatformed on YouTube or something.
You probably will now. You said
so that. Normally, when you have a lot of experience, you can just go into a session and just start asking questions and just start helping the person. Mm-hmm. But here's what I've noticed in the beginning, let's say months and maybe year or so of anyone doing people change help work. They will go in with a piece of paper or a document online. And
would you like to hold up an actual piece of paper?
No, I was going to, but it's all
a small one there you can hold up.
Yeah.
Just to add the prop.
Just for the prop. All right.
Okay, yeah. Come with the piece
so you might have a piece of paper where you've written down a bunch of stuff, which represents, let's say in a hypnotherapy session, this is a client coming in for anxiety related to whatever it is. Yeah, paper. I'm really afraid of getting paper cuts, right? So I might write on my paper all the things that I believe I'm going to do in this session to help this person. Now, here's what we've noticed. Everybody does this in the beginning. Everyone comes up with a plan, even though you don't need to go in with a plan once you have enough experience. But everyone who creates their plan throws it away, doesn't actually use their plan. They deviate
from it pretty early.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I came up with this thought that going in with a plan actually gives you this sense of, I want to call it false confidence. It isn't false in that you need the plan to know what you're doing, but it gives you this sense that you have a map of where you want the session to go.
Okay, that's brilliant.
It gives you a seed, an idea.
Well, there's
then
two
you
things
feel
there.
good about it. Mm-hmm. You go into the session, you start working with your client, and as soon as you uncover certain pieces of information, your unconscious kicks into gear and goes, kicks into gear and goes, all right, I'm going to do this instead. I don't need the paper anymore.
Yeah. Now, see, there's a very good point. There's a military line here, which states that no battle plan survives first contact with the enemy.
Yeah.
And it is the same thing.
I've heard
Once
that
you have someone sitting across from you with issues and they want to deal with stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait. So you can have all the best plans in the world, but what you're saying is very clever because actually, when you have an external list of things, even if you don't follow it, there is a sense of security that comes with that initially because it's an external visual check.
Yes, it's the safety blanket or the safety. What am I using right? A comfort blanket, like a baby's comfort blanket.
Linus,
it's the same idea.
Charlie Brown.
Yeah. Do you want to tell the story about? I think you've done this before, but hey, first time on video about when you used to do stage performances and you were very young man, you were very nervous, and your doctor wrote you a prescription.
Oh,
let's talk about it, because that's the same idea here.
Yeah, it's the false confidence, but it gets you over the hump. 1975, January 29th, I did my very first show. I was in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, on independent TV. You got to realize I was a telephone operator in Toronto, grade 10 education, living at home with my parents or would have starved to death. And basically, I got this chance. I demonstrated some card skills, some mentalism. I was already doing hypnosis for my friends to a friend of mine who was an agent. He got me this gig, told him I was this hot new act in Ontario. I'd never done a gig in my life. They flew me out there on CP Air, had a limo pick me up at the airport, stayed at the Edmonton Plaza at the time. I was like, wow, this is great. But I was terrified about going, terrified about performing. And so before I went, I spoke to our family doctor, Dr. Ray Houston, who shows up in our podcast, and Ray Houston and Guy Billingham.
Yes.
Anyway, he gave me a Valium prescription, diazepam, and said, take one of these an hour to an hour and a half before you perform and you'll be fine. He was right. Took one of those. I was funny. I was hilarious. I was relaxed. Very much the way you're saying me now, but I'm not on Valium or anything other than perfectly ordinary cup of coffee.
And then what happened?
So I got on stage. I did the show. It was crap. I did a lousy job. Thought I did a great job. Saw it 2 years later and cringed. But that was January 29th, 1975. And then I kept taking these before I did shows. Started doing colleges, universities. And then I had a festival to do in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario.
What kind of
festival?
festival?
Their winter festival. And I had to work with two bands that were there and in two locations at the same hotel and do hypnosis mentalism shows. So the first night, getting ready as usual, suit up, put on my really inappropriate clothing, which I wouldn't even describe. They were so horrible. I would say if fashion law had been enforced, I would have faced a life sentence without hope of parole. And so I was ready to go on stage 90 minutes beforehand. Let's get the diazepam, chug one of these down with half a glass of water. Can't find it. Okay, it's not my suitcase. Oh, it must be in the zip up. The prescription isn't there. It's not in my carry-on. And have I unpacked it already? Checking the bathroom? No. And you know that thing, Chris, we said this the other day. You can't find something and you keep going back and looking in the same place you've already looked in case maybe now it'll be there.
Like you've cleared your briefcase, but let's just check again because it'll
it was
appear.
Gone. And knock on the door. 5 minutes,
Keep yourself
Mr. Mandel.
on camera if you want.
Yeah. Grandiose. 5 minutes, Mr. Mandel. Too late. Even if I found it, there's no time for it to work. It'd be working when I left the stage.
Right.
90-minute show. I got on stage, freaked out. 10 minutes into the show, I remember thinking, I don't feel any different than when I was taking those damn tranquilizers.
There you go.
My doctor had given me a placebo.
Placebo.
I never took diazepam, never took Valium. I thought I was taking it. And that got me over the hump, over the initial.
So the piece of paper that you walk into a session with, if you're a new therapist, coach, whatever, is your placebo. You think you need, I mean, it's more than that in that it is an actual set of resources and ideas, but it's an interesting thing that you don't need it.
No, absolutely not. And you probably won't follow it anyway. And then when you get the knack, you begin to trust your own unconscious mind. Trust your own unconscious mind. The example of this I love, Chris, is one of my favorite shows. It's an older one now on Netflix. We've been plowing through the seasons, which is Suits.
Yeah, I love that show.
It's supposed to be New York, but it's all filmed in Toronto. And Toronto subs as New York a lot of times. And my favorite character is Harvey Specter, the lawyer. Yeah. Here's what I noticed that I've not seen anybody else notice this. My wife hadn't noticed it. When he goes to a case, when he goes to see a client, when he walks into court, his hands are always empty. He never has a briefcase, never has a portfolio, nothing. Just he walks in like a freaking gunslinger.
I just want to let you know,
fixes the problem.
I'm way ahead of you. I'm so way ahead of you. My hands are empty right now. Look.
Oh, shut up.
I walked into the studio with my hands empty.
That's ridiculous. It doesn't even make any sense, but it's context free, so we admit it.
We warned you at the beginning.
We warned you. So anyway, it's the same with a good therapist. You go into the session, you know, Erickson in his freaking wheelchair, he didn't have, well, let me just go through my notes here of the last 40 years.
Yeah,
he was drawing from his own learnings, his own unconscious resources.
There is a perception of strength from that, right? From that scene. He walks in empty-handed. That's a really interesting point. Yeah, I've never thought about it.
Always.
To be perfectly honest.
You never see him carry anything. In fact, if he serves someone with a, gives him a check or something, it's always in his inside jacket. He takes it out, but his hands are empty. No cell phone, nothing. That's a power position, buddy.
Point. I'll just wrap up that the idea we want to bring to you is if you're doing client work and you start with a resource / cheat sheet / even like a detailed plan, it's okay. You will move on from there. It's fine.
Because you are benevolent. If you want the best for your client, you want to be the best you can be for them, regardless of all the stupid crap we talk. And there is a lot of it. We really do care. When we work with a client, we really want them to have a great life.
I know.